Welcome to Lesson 7-6, Dividing a Decimal by a Decimal. Our learning goal will be to find quotients of two decimals. Our other learning goal will be to understand a number divided by a decimal can be represented as an equivalent calculation using place value to change the divisor to a whole number. And this is really what we were working with in the last lesson of 7-5. So we'll continue this. And let's go ahead and take a look at our first example. So we're going to be looking at the example of 13 and 2/10 divided by 1 and 65 hundredths. So we're going to think of 13 and 2/10 divided by 1 and 65 hundredths as shown. Remember how we can multiply the numerator and the denominator by 100 to change both of those numbers into whole numbers, which makes the division much easier. So if we multiplied 13 and 2/10 by 100, we would get 1,320. And if we multiply 1 and 65 hundredths by 100, we would get 165. Then we can think of 1,320 divided by 65. The divisor is now a whole number. So moving the decimal point the same number of places in both the divisor and the dividend signifies multiplying both by the same power of 10. And in this case, that would be both by 100. So if we divided that out, 13 and 2/10 divided by 1 and 65 hundredths would be 8. Let's take a look at our practice problems. So if we have 1 and 2/10 divided by 2/10, we are going to need to move those decimal places, both the same in the divisor and the dividend, so that we're working with whole numbers. Please try that on your own, and then press play whenever you're ready to check your answer with me. Did you write 6? Well, let's take a look at how we would get 6 for this answer. So our original problem was 2/10 as our divisor. We're dividing 1 and 2/10 by 2/10. Okay, now if we need to move our decimal point the same in both our dividend and our divisor, our new divisor would become 2. And our dividend, we'd also have to move one place. So our new dividend would be 12. And then we have a pretty simple division problem, don't we? 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay, let's take a look at our next practice problem. We have 2 and 4/10 divided by 3/10. Okay, please press pause, working on your own, and then let's check it together. Did you write 8? Let's take a look at our original problem. We had 2 and 4/10, and we were dividing that by 3/10. Now, if we use the same strategy we've been using, we would move the decimal point one place to make our new divisor 3, and then we'd have to also move our decimal point one place to make our new dividend 24. And again, we have a very simple division problem to work. And our answer would be 8. Okay, let's take a look at our next practice problem. We have 21 thousandths divided by 35 hundredths. So this one is very similar. We're going to use those same strategies. Try it on your own. Press play whenever you're ready to check it with me. Did you write 6 hundredths? Let's take a look at our original problem. We had 35 hundredths as our divisor, and we had 21 thousandths as our dividend. So if we multiply both of these by 100, and we can signify that by moving the decimal point 2 places, our new divisor would be 35. We have to do the same thing in our dividend. We've got to move the decimal point 2 places. So now the decimal point would come after between the 1 and the 2. I'm just going to get rid of those other zeros just so it doesn't confuse us. Okay, now let's take a look at this problem. We have a little bit more division to take care of in this problem. We can't make a group of 35 out of 2 things or out of 21 things. So I'm going to go ahead and put my zeros here to hold the place. 35 times 0 is 0. We're going to divide, multiply, subtract, and then bring down. We can't make a group of 35 out of only 21 things. So again, 35 times 0 is 0. We will subtract. And then here, as we've learned about decimals earlier in the year, this number 2 1/10 will stay the same no matter how many zeros I add on the end. It is still equivalent. It's still worth the same amount. So since I've run out of anything to bring down, I can go ahead and actually write in the 0 that's actually already there, and then now I have something to bring down. So now, can I make a group of 35 things out of 210? Yes, I definitely can. But I might have to do a little math work off to the side to see how many times 35 will go into 210. And a lot of times when I don't know that, I start with 5. And then I kind of know if I need to go up or down. So if I do 35 times 5, 5 times 5 is 25. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 more is 17. That's not quite enough, so let me try 35 times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 3 more is 21. And I found what I needed, right? I can make 6 groups of 35 out of 210 things. So 35 times 6 is 210. I subtract, and I don't need to bring down anything else because now I've worked out this problem. But I do need to see what I need to do with this decimal point. And when we're doing division with a decimal in the dividend, we always just move that decimal point straight up from where it was. So that's how we get 6/100ths as our answer for this practice problem. Now we're ready for our practice word problem. Mrs. Langford purchases several bottles of water. Before tax is added, the cost is $3.60, and the cost of each bottle is $1.20. How many bottles did she buy? Work this out on your own. Press pause while you do that, and then press play when you're ready to check your answer with mine. Did you get 3 bottles of water? Let's take a look. Okay, so our original problem, she spent $3.60, and I want to put my $sign in there so we know how that should be labeled. And each bottle of water was $1.20. So we're really dividing to find out how many bottles of water she was able to buy. So I want to go ahead and make both of these numbers into whole numbers. So to do that, I would multiply them times 100, but I don't actually have to show that work because I know the strategy. I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to make my divisor 120. But then I have to do the same thing to my dividend. Since I moved it 2 places here, I'm going to move it 2 places here, and this is going to become 360. And we're just changing these to whole numbers, making them equivalent numbers so that they're easier for us to do division with. Now I need to see how many times 120 will go into 360. Well, let's try 120 times 3. And that is what I needed. 120 times 3 gives me 360. Subtract, I have no remainder, but I do need to make sure that, oh, I don't need to have that right there. I just have 3 bottles of water as my answer. I tried to make that into money and I didn't need to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our challenge problem. Marcy and her brother Tom were in a charity walk. Tom walked 1/8 8/10 miles as far as Marcy, 7/10 as far on the second day, and 9/10 as far on the third day. How many miles did Tom walk in all? And we want to round this to the nearest mile. So we're going to round our answer to the nearest mile, okay? So a chart below shows how far Marcy walked. So Tom walked 8/10 of a mile as far as Marcy. That was the first day. 7/10 as far on the second day, and 9/10 as far on the third day. How many miles did Tom walk in all? We're going to round it to the nearest hundredth. This one is a little bit challenging, but I know you can do it. Try your best. Show your work, explain your answer, and come back to school ready to check your answer tomorrow. Good luck. So as we finish up, please review your learning goals. Have you mastered all of them? Do you need to go back and review or practice again? In your journal, write down if you feel that you're at a 1, a 2, or a 3 in your learning on this lesson. In your journal, remember to write down questions that you may have so that we can talk about them tomorrow in class. Congratulations, you've completed lesson 7-6, dividing a decimal by a decimal.